What would you do if you discovered that the man you loved for over 10 years never loved you back? That every moment you shared was built on a lie, that he chose death over a life with you. This is the story of a woman who thought she knew what heartbreak was until she found out the devastating truth. When Lily, the high school beauty who had tormented my boyfriend Jasper, announced her wedding, I thought it was just another chapter closing. I was wrong. That same night, Jasper walked to the edge of the sea and jumped. The police found his body 3 days later. I was the one who had to identify him. I was the one who had to plan his funeral. I was the one left behind to pick up the pieces of a life I thought we'd built together. But the real nightmare began when I started going through his belongings. Hidden deep in his computer, buried in folders within folders, I found something that shattered my world completely. A secret folder labeled, Little Daisy. The flower language of daisies, hidden love. Inside were 520 photos. All of her, all of Lily. Pictures spanning from high school to her wedding day. Screenshots from her social media. Candid shots that could only have been taken by someone obsessed. Someone who had been watching her for years. And at the bottom of this digital shrine, a document. His private diary. Page after page of his secret love for the girl who had bullied him mercilessly. The girl who had poured cold water on him. Who had cut his clothes to shreds. Who had made his high school years a living hell. And yet, he loved her. In his own words, I read about the day she gave him an umbrella in the rain. How that single moment of unexpected kindness had captured his heart forever. How every cruel thing she did after that only made him love her more. He even wrote a song for her. I toss and turn every day without you. I remembered that song, it had made him famous. I thought it was about us. But there was no mention of me. Not a single word about the girl who had saved him countless times. Who had stood between him and his bullies. Who had loved him unconditionally for over a decade. I was invisible in his story. A footnote, a convenience. The last entry in his diary broke something inside me. If there is an afterlife, I will be brave once. Through my tears, I whispered to his memory. If there is an afterlife, I will definitely not interfere again. Go and pursue your true love. And then, I opened my eyes. I was 17 again. Standing in a high school classroom, watching Jasper introduce himself to our class for the first time. The teacher was about to assign him as my desk mate, just like before. But this time was different. This time I knew the truth. Teacher, I said, my voice steady and cold. I don't want him as my desk mate. The shock on Jasper's face was immediate, his cheeks flushed red with embarrassment and hurt. In my previous life, I had welcomed him with kindness. I had been his protector, his safe haven. Not anymore. Why not? The teacher asked, clearly surprised by my outburst. I can read faces, I lied smoothly. He's bad luck for me. The teacher scolded me for being superstitious, but ultimately seated Jasper next to Lily instead. I watched as she rolled her eyes dramatically and called him a country bumpkin, under her breath. In my previous life, I would have kicked her chair and defended him. This time, I simply looked down at my book and pretended I didn't care. But I could feel his eyes on me, confused, hurt, searching for answers I would never give. You see, being reborn isn't just about getting a second chance. It's about seeing clearly for the first time. And what I saw was a boy who would grow up to break my heart in the most devastating way possible. So when I saw Lily and her friends cornering Jasper in the girls' bathroom after school, I didn't rush to his rescue. I washed my hands calmly and walked away, even as I heard their cruel laughter echoing behind me. Don't you know how disgusting you are? Lily's voice carried through the corridor. You smell. Do you even shower at that orphanage? In my previous life, I had charged in like a knight in shining armor. I had protected him, fought for him, believed in him. And where had it gotten me? A suicide note that didn't even mention my name. This time, I kept walking. But as I reached the bathroom door, I heard him call out in a voice raw with desperation. Hazel! I ran. I ran so fast that I crashed straight into another student, sending us both tumbling to the ground. Damn it, the boy muttered, rubbing his forehead. He had sharp eyes and an attitude that screamed trouble. Watch where you're going. Sorry, I gasped, scrambling to my feet. I could hear Jasper's footsteps approaching, and panic seized me. I couldn't face him. Not yet, not when the wounds were still so fresh. I ran again, leaving the mysterious boy behind. His name, I would later learn, was Justin, and he would change everything. Without my protection, Jasper's high school experience became exactly what it was meant to be. Lily's bullying intensified. She seemed to take a perverse pleasure in tormenting him, coming up with new and creative ways to humiliate the quiet boy from the orphanage. And Jasper, he took it all in silence. His pride wouldn't let him fight back, wouldn't let him ask for help. He suffered alone, just as he was supposed to. Part of me wanted to intervene. Old habits die hard, and watching someone suffer had never come easily to me. But every time I felt that familiar urge to play the hero, I remembered those photos. 520 pictures of another girl, a diary full of love for someone who had never shown him kindness. I remembered his suicide. I remembered being erased from his story completely. The pain was still too raw, the betrayal too deep. So I focused on myself instead. On the dreams I had abandoned in my previous life to support his career. On the university I had missed because of a mysterious stomach cramp during my final exam, an exam where Jasper had given me a bottle of water beforehand. Now I wondered, had that really been an accident? Time moved differently when you knew what was coming. The freshman welcome party arrived, the same party where Lily would perform and win first place. The same performance that would become Jasper's first photo in his secret collection. In my previous life, I had skipped the party to study. This time, I made the same choice, but for different reasons. I was in the library when I noticed Jasper hadn't attended either. Strange. In my memories, he had never missed a chance to see his goddess perform. Hazel. I looked up to find him standing beside my table, his expression intense and troubled. He looked like he was fighting some internal battle, like he had something important to prove. In my previous life, Jasper had been emotionally distant most of the time. Cold, even during our most intimate moments. But there had been a few exceptions. Times when his carefully constructed walls had crumbled. Like the day he confessed his feelings after graduation. The way he had looked at me then, with such raw vulnerability, such desperate hope, was the same way he was looking at me now. "Do you want to be together?" He had asked that day, his voice barely above a whisper. His hands had trembled as he waited for my answer. I had said yes then. I had thought it was love. Now I knew better. Now I knew he had been looking at someone else through me. So when he opened his mouth to speak, I simply packed my bag and walked away without a word. The hurt in his eyes almost made me stumble. Almost. The next encounter came a few days later. I was walking home from school when I spotted them in the alley, Lily and her friends surrounding Jasper again. This was my usual route home, and in my previous life, this had been one of my most heroic rescues. Jasper's eyes found mine across the distance, and I swear I saw a flicker of hope there. He was expecting me to save him, expecting me to be the same girl who had always put his needs before her own. But expectations, I had learned, were dangerous things. "What's that in your hand, country boy?" Lily taunted, reaching for something Jasper was clutching protectively. "Are you some kind of pervert? Is that a girl's thing?" Jasper's reaction was violent. He pushed Lily away with more force than I had ever seen him use, his eyes wild with panic. "It's not yours," he said, his voice deep and threatening. "If you break it, I'll fight you to the death." His gaze locked with mine for a split second, and I saw something desperate there. Something pleading. I looked straight ahead and kept walking. Behind me, I heard the sickening sound of fists hitting flesh. I heard his muffled cries of pain. And still, I didn't turn around. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of what he was protecting so fiercely. A small, strawberry-shaped hairpin. My hairpin. The one I must have dropped somewhere along the way. But knowing what I knew about his true feelings, even this gesture felt hollow. Was he protecting it because it was mine? Or because it reminded him of someone else? I was so lost in these dark thoughts that I almost missed the figure slumped against the wall in the next alley. It was the same boy I had crashed into earlier, Justin. He was covered in blood, his clothes torn, looking like he had been through his own battle. "Hey," he called out weakly as I hesitated. "Are you just going to stand there and watch me die?" Every instinct screamed at me to help him. But I had learned my lesson about playing the savior. I had read too many stories about girls who picked up mysterious injured boys, only to have their lives turned upside down. And after Jasper, after everything, I wasn't sure I could trust my own judgment anymore. "I'll call an ambulance," I said, pulling out my phone. He laughed, a sound that was half amusement, half pain. "You're really something. Last time you knocked me down, and now you won't even help me up." Something about his tone made me pause. There was a familiarity there, a warmth that was completely different from Jasper's cold intensity. "We go to the same school," he continued, pulling out his student ID and tossing it toward me. "Justin Chen, Class 3, Grade 1. Think I'm going to rob you or something?" I picked up the ID, studying his face. He was right, we were schoolmates. And despite his injuries there was something trustworthy about him, something that felt safe. "What happened to you?" I asked, against my better judgment. "Got into a fight. Multiple guys. They look worse than me. Trust me." He tried to grin, but it came out as more of a grimace. "Look, I'm really hurt here. Can you at least help me stand up? Something in his voice broke through my defenses. Maybe it was exhaustion from carrying so much anger and hurt. Maybe it was the genuine vulnerability in his eyes, so different from the calculated desperation I had seen in Jasper's. Or maybe it was just that I was tired of being alone with my pain. Fine, I sighed, moving to help him up. But if you try anything weird, you'll what? Beat up a guy who can barely stand. He chuckled as I struggled with his weight. Oh, okay, maybe be a little gentler with the broken ribs? Sorry, I muttered, adjusting my grip. You're heavier than you look. And you're stronger than you look. Most girls would have run away by now. Most girls hadn't been through what I had been through. Most girls hadn't had their hearts broken by a ghost. We made slow progress toward the mouth of the alley, and that's when we encountered Jasper again. He was limping slightly, his face bruised and swollen from his own beating. But the moment he saw me supporting Justin, something in his expression crumbled. It was like watching a building collapse in slow motion. The careful mask he always wore simply fell away, and underneath was a pain so raw, so desperate, that for a moment I almost forgot why I was angry with him. Hazel, he whispered, and there was a tremor in his voice I had never heard before. You helped him? It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. A statement of betrayal. He took a step forward, his thin frame shaking, and slowly opened his hand. There lay my strawberry hairpin, now broken beyond repair. This is yours, he said, his voice barely audible. Why didn't you care about me this time? The question hit me like a physical blow. In my previous life, the last time I had saved him from Lily's bullying, he had asked me a different question. Are we that familiar? He had seemed embarrassed, almost resentful of my help. Now he was asking why I hadn't helped him at all. Are we that familiar? I threw his old words back at him, my voice cold as winter. We are, he started, but Justin cut him off. A grown man who can't even defend himself. Justin said with obvious disdain. Why are you acting so pathetic? Hazel, if we don't get to the hospital soon, I'm actually going to pass out. Jasper stared at Justin with a hatred so intense it was almost tangible. But when his eyes returned to me, all I saw was confusion and hurt. Let's go, I said to Justin, not sparing Jasper another glance. I'll take you to the hospital. As we walked away, I could feel Jasper's eyes boring into my back. I could feel his world reshaping itself around this moment. Just as mine had reshaped itself around the discovery of his secret. In the taxi, Justin studied my face with surprising insight. That guy looked at you in a really weird way, he said. You should stay away from him. Unlike me, I'm from a good family, simple-minded, no hidden agendas. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Then why were you in a fight, and why did you lose so badly? His indignation was immediate and comical. Los, I fought 5 guys at once. They're in way worse shape than me. I just got a few scratches. If you only got scratches, then you don't need the hospital. Panic flashed across his face. No, wait. I have low blood sugar. I might faint any second. I handed him a chocolate bar from my bag. His face lit up like a child on Christmas morning, and even his ears turned red with embarrassment. There was something refreshingly honest about Justin. Something uncomplicated. Where Jasper was all shadows and hidden depths, Justin was sunshine and straightforward emotion. At the hospital, he insisted on exchanging contact information. You're my lifesaver, he declared dramatically. I owe you dinner when I get out of here. I'm great at physics, by the way. Maybe I can tutor you sometime. Physics. The word triggered a memory, something about parallel universes and quantum mechanics. But before I could place it, Justin spoke again. Hazel, we're only in first year. There are still so many possibilities ahead of us. His eyes were bright with conviction. You can live this life however you want to. The words felt prophetic, though I didn't understand why at the time. I believe you can do anything, he added with a grin that was impossible not to trust. As I turned to leave, I came face to face with Jasper again. How long had he been waiting there? How much had he heard? The look in his eyes was different now. Darker, more possessive, but also strangely vulnerable, like he was trying to figure out how to win back something he had never actually possessed. I came to return your hairpin, he said, holding out the broken accessory. The symbolism wasn't lost on me. Just like the hairpin, whatever had existed between us was broken beyond repair. Jasper, I said calmly, meeting his desperate gaze. We're just classmates. You're crossing a line. He froze. For a long moment he couldn't seem to find his voice. Are you going to abandon me? He finally whispered, and his voice was so broken that my heart almost betrayed me. The question brought back memories of our previous life, of all the times he had asked me that same question when his music career was struggling. When record labels rejected him. When critics tore apart his work. Are you going to abandon me? he had asked, clutching my hands as I packed for a business trip. Everyone else thinks I'm worthless. You're all I have. And I had stayed. I had always stayed. I had sacrificed my own dreams, my own ambitions to support his. I had believed in him when no one else would. But believing in someone who doesn't love you back isn't romantic. It's tragic. You're just a burden? I said now, the words coming out colder than I intended. It's okay to let you go. Something died in his eyes then. Some last flicker of hope was extinguished completely. Don't bother me again, I added as I walked past him. The weeks that followed settled into a strange new rhythm. Justin, despite being hospitalized, somehow found time to send me messages constantly. Most of them were sweet, some were study-related, and a few were questionable. Like the photo he sent with the caption, "My leg is all healed now, thanks to classmate Hazel." The photo showed his leg, but also included a clear view of his abs. "Your leg is fine," I texted back. "Why did you send a shirtless photo?" "Oops, wrong photo. Can't delete it now. Sorry." I didn't believe his innocent act for a second. Meanwhile, Jasper seemed to be plotting something. He had stopped approaching me directly, but I could feel him watching. Planning, and I had a sinking feeling I knew what he was up to. My suspicions were confirmed when Justin got called to the principal's office. Someone had reported him for fighting and maliciously injuring other students. When I heard about it, I immediately went to vouch for him. "Teacher, I can testify that Justin was defending himself." I told the principal. I was the one who took him to the hospital. Later, I cornered Jasper in the hallway. "Was it you?" I asked directly. "Did you report Justin?" His response was immediate and telling. "He's just a delinquent. Do you know what his reputation was like in middle school? Why are you protecting him?" "Does it matter?" I shot back. "You're really despicable, you know that." But instead of anger, I saw something like satisfaction in his eyes. "Hazel, he's not worth it," he said softly. The possessiveness in his tone made my skin crawl. This wasn't love, this was ownership. This was a broken person trying to drag others down to his level. "I don't need you to tell me what to do," I said and walked away. That night, Justin texted me, "Do you believe me?" Without hesitation, I replied, "Yes, I do. Some things I was learning were really that simple." The bullying continued, but now I had a front row seat to watch Jasper's true character emerge. He never fought back against Lily's cruelty. Never stood up for himself. He just took it, like he was feeding off the abuse somehow. It was sick. And it made me wonder what kind of relationship we would have had if I had continued to protect him. Would he have grown to resent my strength the way he seemed to worship Lily's cruelty? As the school year progressed, I threw myself into my studies with renewed passion. This time, I would get the grades I needed. This time, I would go to the university of my dreams. This time, I wouldn't sacrifice my future for anyone. Justin became my constant study partner, and despite his playful nature, he was genuinely brilliant. Especially in physics. "You know," he said one day as we worked through quantum mechanics problems, "physics is like magic. It can make impossible things possible." "Like what?" I asked, not really paying attention. "Like traveling through time. Like parallel universes. Like two particles being connected across infinite space." Something in his tone made me look up. There was an intensity in his eyes that reminded me of something, some half-remembered dream or fleeting thought. But before I could pursue it, the moment passed. The real test came on a rainy night in our second year. I was walking home when I saw Jasper in the distance, caught in the downpour without an umbrella. In my previous life, this had been the moment that changed everything for him. The night Lily had shown him an unexpected kindness that would haunt him forever. Our eyes met across the street. For a moment, time seemed suspended. Rain poured down between us like a curtain, but I could see the desperate hope in his face. Could see him willing me to cross that distance, to be the one to save him this time. I turned and walked the other way. "Hazel," he called after me, his voice barely audible over the storm. "Hazel, wait." I walked faster. "Why are you avoiding me?" he shouted, and now there was real desperation in his voice. "You'd rather help anyone else than look at me." He caught up to me, drenched and shivering, blocking my path. "Justin has everything," he continued, his voice breaking. "He doesn't need your charity. But I have nothing. Why won't you save me anymore?" Charity. That word again. That's all my love had ever been to him, charity from someone he saw as fundamentally different from himself. "Jasper, I need to correct something," I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging around us. "I don't hate you. I just don't see you at all. You're a stranger to me, not worth any emotion." The last bit of hope died in his eyes then. All the careful composure he had built up over months crumbled in an instant. "It shouldn't be like this," he whispered. "You clearly loved me before. You gave up everything for me. That was an accident, I said calmly. I failed my college entrance exam and had to make different choices. You just happened to be one of those choices. But you liked me? He insisted, and now he was crying openly. I know you did. When I liked you before, it was pure, I admitted. I never expected anything in return. I gave everything freely. But now you're nothing to me. Something broke in him then. Some final barrier between sanity and obsession. I don't have anything to do with Lily this time, he said frantically. I didn't make any mistakes. Why are you still? Don't talk to me about her. I cut him off. But nothing happened. I can prove it. Why can't you just look at me one more time? I took a step back, putting distance between us. Because you don't deserve it, I said simply. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Jasper's face went completely white, and for a moment I thought he might collapse right there in the street. Then he laughed. A broken, hollow sound that was more terrifying than any scream. Is it because of Justin? He asked, and his voice had changed completely. Gone was the pleading boy. In his place was something darker. You saved him. Then I'll destroy him. He's just a tool to you, isn't he? A replacement for me? Jasper, I said quietly. The bottle of water you gave me before my English exam in our previous life. You put something in it, didn't you? His face went ashen. We both knew I had found him out. I just wanted you by my side. He whispered. I loved you so much. I slapped him with all the strength I had. The sound echoed through the empty street like a gunshot. You're despicable, I said. You're a rat in the gutter. He didn't fight back, didn't defend himself. He just stood there in the rain, letting my words cut him apart. Finally, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the night like the ghost he had always been. I stood there for a long time after he left, rain mixing with tears on my face. But these tears weren't for him. They were for the girl I used to be. The girl who had loved so purely and received so little in return. Hazel. I looked up to find Justin standing there with an umbrella, his face full of concern. Here, he said, holding the umbrella over my head even though the rain had already stopped. You look like you needed this. Justin, I said suddenly, do you know about quantum entanglement? His expression shifted, becoming more serious than I had ever seen it. Quantum entanglement, he said slowly, is when two particles become connected across time and space. No matter how far apart they are, they remain linked. When one changes, the other responds instantly. He paused, studying my face. Why do you ask? But I already knew the answer. Some connections transcended time and space. Some people were meant to find each other, no matter what obstacles stood in their way. And some loves were pure enough to cross between worlds. Just curious, I said, taking his offered hand. The rest of our story unfolded like a dream. Jasper became famous just as he had before. But this time, his rise to stardom served a different purpose. This time, he used his platform for revenge. At a fan meeting broadcast lived to millions, he systematically destroyed Lily's life. He revealed every cruel thing she had done, every moment of bullying, every calculated cruelty. And at the end, he played a recording of her confessing to drugging my exam water. She destroyed someone's dreams, he said to the camera, his voice calm and cold. Did you really think someone like that deserved to stand by my side? Lily went to prison. Jasper's career imploded. And I finally understood what he had meant when he said he would protect my dreams. He had sacrificed everything to give me justice. But justice without love is just revenge. And revenge, no matter how satisfying, can't heal a broken heart. When I visited Lily in prison, she asked me why everything had gone wrong. He never loved you, I told her gently, just like he never really loved me. He only loves broken things. People he can save or people who can save him. The rest of us are just ordinary. Jasper tried to see me one last time before the end. He brought flowers, white kales, meaning pure love. I showed you my worst side, he said. Do I still have a chance? I shook my head. Then this is goodbye, he whispered. A week later, I heard he had taken his own life again. This time, he left a letter addressed to me. In it, he finally told the truth about his feelings, about his obsession, about his twisted understanding of love. But the letter didn't change anything. Understanding why someone hurt you doesn't erase the pain they caused. I threw the letter away without finishing it. Because I had learned something important about second chances. They're not about fixing what was broken. They're about choosing something better. And I had chosen Justin, the boy who had spent his entire life studying parallel universes, hoping that somewhere in the infinite possibilities of existence, he might find a timeline where I could love him back. The boy who had created the very mechanism that brought me here, giving up everything for the slim chance that I might be happy in another world. That's what real love looks like. Not obsession disguised as devotion, not possession masquerading as protection, but genuine, selfless care for another person's happiness. On graduation day, Justin proposed with a ring made of white balloon flowers, eternal love in the language of flowers. "I love you in quantum entanglement," he said with a grin. Across time, space, and every possible universe. Some people are connected by fate, others by choice. But the strongest connections are built on both, the cosmic pull of destined souls, and the daily decision to choose love over fear, hope over hurt, and truth over comfortable lies. Justin and I went to university together. We studied physics and astronomy, unlocking the secrets of the universe side by side. We published papers on parallel dimensions and quantum mechanics. We built a life based on mutual respect, shared dreams, and genuine affection. And sometimes, late at night when the stars were bright, I would think about all the other versions of myself scattered across infinite timelines. The one who never discovered Jasper's secret. The one who married him despite knowing the truth. The one who chose loneliness over taking another chance on love. But this version, this timeline where I chose myself, chose growth, chose someone who chose me back, this was the one I was grateful to be living. The heart, I learned, is not a fragile thing that breaks once and never heals. It's resilient, it's brave, it can learn to love again, deeper and truer than before. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the universe conspires to give you exactly what you need. Not what you thought you wanted, but what your soul was truly searching for. A love that crosses time and space. A love that asks for nothing but gives everything. A love that sees you clearly and chooses you anyway. That's the kind of love worth being reborn for. 2. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through time, love, and second chances. If this story touched your heart, or made you think about your own relationships differently, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to choose between what felt familiar and what was actually good for you? Don't forget to like this video if it moved you, and subscribe for more stories about love, redemption, and the courage to start over. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, and choosing the right person to live well with. Until next time, remember, you deserve a love that lifts you up, not one that holds you back.